What's going on, people of the internet? Hyperchaotic here with a K double R, and welcome back or welcome if this is your first time visiting my channel. And if it is, let it be known that this video is an extension to my video, my Right Off the Dome Phase 4 retrospective video, where as a MCU filthy casual, I go over each individual Phase 4 property and what I liked and disliked about them, my general thoughts about it overall. And I do have videos for each individual phase so far, so if you would like to see that, check out the link to the playlist in the description down below. If you're on BitChute, you're going to have to go link by link by link from the description of each individual video. Nonetheless, if you do want to see the previous video, for those of you on BitChute, it will be linked in the description down below. I will also have the separate videos just to see the films or just series retrospectives. I pretty much cut the video in half between film and shows and put them as two separate videos if you don't want to see the full version. But also let me know that if you do see the full versions, I forgot to include the holiday specials, so that also has its own separate video. Though I must also add this: if you want my general conclusion of the phase, you have to get that either in a full original video or the I'm sorry, why am I stopping on it? The holiday special, because I reiterate some of my thoughts and go over my conclusion on Phase 4 again, but a bit more organized. And if you want to skip to a specific property, don't forget, I use timestamps. I will most likely use timestamps for this video as well. Maybe, let's see what happens. Anyways, the series What If? The show that's supposed to be making you ask the question, what if things went differently for this character? What if said character did this instead of the other character? We'll go over some examples when we go over some of the episodes in a bit. Now, for as much as this show is trying to make you ask the question, what if? More often than not, it will have you asking the question, but why? Why was this the choice you made? Why was this the episode you decided to go with? Why didn't we have the storyline go somewhere else? Now, you're not going to say that about every episode, and I'm not necessarily saying that just because you're asking that it's bad, but you're definitely going to question some of the creative decisions, let's say that. Plus, I feel like there are some episodes within this series that were not bad ideas, but they didn't have the best execution. And perhaps maybe they would have had a better chance to execute it if A, they weren't constricted to 30 minutes each episode, but then again, it's a series, so there's that. Or B, they just, weren't constrained by time, because this was a Phase 4 property that they had to finish up as they were wrapping up Phase 4. A lot of the stuff in Phase 4 was rushed. Now granted, some of What If does extend into Phase 5. Even then, I don't know if I want to say it was rushed, but it definitely seems like some of the people behind the writing staff was running out of steam. Now, an example of an episode that I want to give where I think it wasn't a bad idea, but not really the best execution, would actually be Season 3, Episode 1. What if the Hulk fought the Mech Avengers? Basically, Hulk gets so angry he practically turns into a fucking kaiju, and the Avengers gotta make the equivalent of what were those robots called from that one anime that people love? I've never seen it before, but it's constantly referenced in media all the time. I should know it. Gundam. There we go, right at the tip of my tongue. Gundam. They basically make their own freaking Gundams and try to battle the Hulk, and eventually he... This is the point where the episode lost me, man. The motherfucker commits mitosis and creates more of himself, an whole army of these kaiju clone Hulks. Okay. Why? Where the fuck did this ability come from? Was this something ever explored within the comics or some shit? again, they just lost me with that one. Other episodes like Season 1, Episode 2, What If T'Challa Became Star-Lord? Again, interesting idea, not the best execution. Now, don't get me wrong, the execution was pretty good, all things considered, but it left a lot to be desired. Like, I definitely wanted to see this concept explored a little bit more. I wanted to see T'Challa beat Star-Lord a bit more. I really wanted to see the supposed conversation he had with Thanos that convinced him to drop his freaking genocidal journey or whatever, you know? His whole gemstone crusade completely ended it with a single conversation. I would really like to see what they tried to come up with for that conversation, if they even attempted to do that. Now, some other episodes were decent. Season 3, What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes? Basically, all the Avengers, or the characters that would eventually become the Avengers, die back in their Phase 1 phases, their Phase 1 films. So, that was pretty interesting. Or wait, I think Tony was starting to be recruited barely in Phase 2? I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? This one was really interesting. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the better episodes of What If. And then What If Ultra 1? Really good episode. Though I'm not gonna lie, people are not gonna stop roasting the shit out of Thanos from that episode, and the rest of the fucking Avengers had me fucking sitting there like, you're telling me Vision could have done that shit the whole fucking time? Bro, Endgame would have never happened. That would actually be a decent What If episode if they didn't freaking end it on Season 3, because it wasn't doing too well. It started to become more and more lackluster as the seasons went on. Nonetheless, there were some decent episodes within this series. There were some decent episodes within at least each individual season. But it went down to story quality and, interesting ideas over time. The rest like I said, it felt like they were running out of steam. Like they were running out of ideas. Instead of, I don't know, maybe exploring with what they already experimented with in the comics. Take those, but remix it. Just another what if variation on a what if. Why not? Infinite universes, infinite fucking possibilities. Now, if I was to rank which season was better over which one, I'm not going to do this for the episodes because I feel like I would have to go back and rewatch them again. I kind of don't want to do that. Even though some of them are decent, I'm not really in the mood to go back and rewatch it, which I think it is a bit of an issue, even if this is just a me thing. But I will explain that a little bit more near the end. But if I was to rate these seasons from, let's say, from the best to the worst, you literally just got to go in order of the seasons. Season 1 was the best season. Season 2 was decent. Season 3 was lackluster. It still had some decent episodes, some interesting concepts, even though they didn't have the best execution. But overall, it was just, in my opinion, the most boring season overall. Though, let me double check to make sure I am getting the season correct with this episode. But if my memory serves me correct, it is the one with the Gordy episode. Was it? Or was that season 2? I think I'm getting which episodes from which seasons mixed up. Yeah, okay, no, that's season 2. Nonetheless, they came up with a completely new character just for What If, and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought Gordy was a pretty interesting character. By the way, if it sounds like I'm pronouncing that with the D, Kahorty, that's not a D in her name. That's like the hardest rolled freaking R. It almost sounds like it's being pronounced like a D. At least that's how it was pronounced within the show, and I'm just trying to pronounce it how it was pronounced in the show. Anyways, with that said, even though one Season 1 was the best season, it had, in my opinion, one of the most freaking insufferable episodes ever. And that was episode 7, What If Thor Were an Only Child? I will say this, the dynamic between him and Loki, with Loki still being a frost giant raised by his father, their chemistry and dynamic was pretty interesting. Other than that, Thor was absolutely fucking insufferable in this episode, and unbelievably and ridiculously juvenile, even for like Thor 1 Thor, which he was very immature in Thor 1. I would say a bit juvenile for his age, but not to the extent that he was like in this episode. Like as if he was still a teenager. Just, ugh. I recommend just skipping that episode. Now, before I move on to my final thoughts and the reason why I don't think it's a completely good thing that I don't want to go back to rewatch this show, I want to just nominate a couple of episodes from season 3 for the most boring and most what the fuck episode throughout this whole series. For starters, the most boring. I don't know. I think maybe I might find this episode worse than that Thor episode that was absolutely insufferable. Because, I don't know, maybe some people can at least like it for how bad it is. For how cringe it is. I mean, cringe compilations on YouTube exist for a reason. But at least in my personal opinion, I think I would consider this episode worse than that episode. Because the only thing worse, in my opinion, than a bad episode of a show or bad medium of any kind, bad film, bad comic, bad whatever the heck, is something that's just absolutely and completely freaking boring. You don't even want to think about it. You're so interested in it. Anyways, the episode I'm referring to is Season 3, Episode 2, What If Agatha Went to Hollywood? Remember what I said earlier about how they want you to ask what if, but really you're just asking, but why? This is definitely one of those episodes where you're just like, but why though? Why? Well, why? What the fuck is this? What? And then when you see what the episode's about, it's like, okay, what does this have to do with Eternals? Why does she need to go to Hollywood for this? Why does she need to make a whole spectacle? Well, why do we care about this shit? Why should we be fascinated by this at all? Why would this even be an idea anybody wants to freaking explore? And for the most what the fuck episode out of Season 3 in the entire series is Season 3, Episode 4, What If Howard the Duck Got Hitched? To that one side character from Thor, Darcy of all people. I'm not sure who wanted to see this, but okay. People are having so many questions about this. Personally, okay, because mind you, they end up having a baby in this episode. So you already know they had to do the deed in order for that to happen. I wonder if Darcy was very familiar with male duck anatomy, or if she found out the hard way during the procedure, where a duck sting, after the process, it just pops right off. If you don't believe me, look that shit up. Unless you're traumatized by certain stuff like that. Otherwise, just take my word for it and go on about your day, and you don't have to have that in your search history. It's a very strange duck anatomy fact that I don't know how to feel about knowing about it. But knowing that, and after seeing this episode, I kind of want to know how she found out. Did she already know about duck anatomy, or did she find out the hard way? It's kind of a little funny to me just to think about it. Now, does that concept necessarily need to be explored in a future episode? No. Is anybody asking for that? No, nobody was even asking for this episode. But now that that's in my head, I'm asking the question. I don't need a full episode on that. The writers could just give a side answer like, no, she didn't. She found out the hard way. You can go ahead and picture that as you please. That's it. They could just answer the question and that's it. We don't need a full episode on that. Now on to my final thoughts and why I really feel like this show doesn't have too much reviewability for me. Now, I don't know if you may agree with me on this, but for me personally, this show doesn't have a lot of reviewability other than, I don't know, maybe I'm watching something on Disney Plus and if it's playing automatically in the background and I don't have anything else in mind to watch, I'll probably sit through it. Or if somebody else checks it out, I'll probably sit there and watch it with them. Other than that, I don't really feel the need to seek it out and actually go back and watch any of the episodes. Even though I thought some of them were good and I thought season 1 was the best out of all of them. For me, season 1 really was the warm-up. Those were the warm-up what-if ideas to get us excited for what they would have in mind for the later seasons, which was really lackluster. And although some of these what-if ideas are interesting, some of them were played out good, others, like I said, not the best execution, I would say a good portion of them are not really what-if ideas that people want to explore, that people want to see. And I would say for me personally, that's one of the biggest reasons why this show just doesn't have any reviewability. What the fuck was that? I completely just struck out right there. Anyways, that for me personally, that's the reason why it doesn't really have much reviewability. Because although these are interesting concepts, at most these should have been considered warm-up concepts for what they should have really given us, for what people really wanted to see out of What If. And honestly, I think this is one of the reasons why the show didn't do too well and didn't get another season greenlit. Why people aren't that interested to return, especially for those who aren't really big Marvel fans. I don't even know how the hardcore Marvel fans feel about this series. If you are one watching this, let me know in the comment section down below. I really want to know your thoughts about it. By the way, quick side tangent, I should have really mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I've actually never checked out the What If comics. To this day, I still have them on my to check out list, but haven't gotten around to it. I might eventually, especially after the disappointment of the What If series. But other than that, I have heard of some of the ideas, the concepts, and they technically kind of are still playing around with What If ideas, but in the Marvel crossover comics more than anything. And I mean the ones actually crossing over with different properties, like the Avengers versus the Predator, the Avengers versus Xenomorphs, the Avengers versus freaking Godzilla. I have not read those at all, but I've heard of them. Those are crossovers, but I mean, you can basically consider that a what-if idea. Would that ever be featured in the series? No, they would have to get the rights to that. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure Disney owns the rights to Alien and Predator franchises, because aren't they owned by Fox? So that's still a possibility. We could actually get an Alien or Predator episode in What If they ever wanted to greenlight it again. Doubt that'll ever fucking happen. Nonetheless, I'm familiar with them. I will eventually check them out, but I still haven't. Anyways, back into my final thoughts. Now again, as I said earlier, infinite universes means infinite possibilities. However, when people say that, Marvel, these episodes like episode 4 of season 3, What If Howard the Duck Got Hitched? Or What If Agatha went to Hollywood? That's not what the fuck people are talking about. That's not what we're looking for. Now again, infinite universes, infinite possibilities. Is this still technically a possibility within the vastness of the universe? Yes. Anything is a possibility within the vastness of the fucking multiverse. Even the most fucking boring, most disinteresting ideas are a possibility within the vastness of the multiverse. There is a version of the Marvel Universe where nothing marvelous happens. There's no superheroes. They don't have to worry about shit from space. They are literally just as normal as the real world. Does anybody want to explore that alternative reality? No! Now again, people, infinite fucking realities, infinite possibilities. They are still technically possibilities. Just because they're shit, just because they're boring, doesn't mean they're not a possibility. Like I said, my example is a possibility. That's just not one anybody wants to see. There's nothing interesting about that. If I want to see what the Marvel world would be like without anything from Marvel, just basically equivalent to the real world, I would just live life. Nonetheless, that doesn't make it any less of a possibility within the vastness of the multiverse. Take a fucking shot every time I say that shit. Nonetheless, this is definitely one of those situations where people constantly say, oh, Marvel just uses the multiverse as an excuse to keep bringing back characters they want to reuse over and over and over again instead of making new characters or experimenting with new ideas and taking a risk. Which, I mean, here's the thing about that, ladies and gentlemen. They did that with What If. And they failed because they went with the most disinteresting ideas near the end ever instead of exploring the ideas we wanted. And again, they even did make a new character, Kohori. Unless for some reason she does exist in the comics and I've never heard of her, I'm pretty sure she's just brand new, made up by the What If series itself. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comment section. Nonetheless, they didn't explore the concepts we wanted. They explored the ones that they could pull out of their colon because the writers ran out of steam, are underpaid, and probably overworked. Especially after all they had to do through Phase 4. Also, something that I want to point out, something that I've actually learned when it comes to the Marvel as well as the DC multiverses, back when they were first originated as a concept within Marvel Comics was, well, yeah, no shit, ladies and gentlemen, that was actually originally the entire fucking point of the multiverse in multiple timelines. The concept of a multiverse for these properties originally existed as a concept as an what was that, man? As an excuse to explore new ideas with already existing characters. But specifically so they can explore them in a new separate continuity that doesn't mess with the original one. That way they can explore with a new origin story. They can take a hero and turn him into an anti-hero or a villain instead, or vice versa. Take a villain and make him the hero in this alternative reality. Hell, the what if concepts basically exist because they have the multiverse as an excuse to explore new ideas with the existing world, existing universe, existing settings and characters. Remixing and remastering already existing plot lines. That was literally the entire point. Just, they're overdoing it, I guess. Instead of exploring new and interesting ideas, they just keep reusing characters, and at this point, I guess people are just getting tired of it. They're not doing the best job utilizing the multiverse as a story tool that people are just fed up and tired of even hearing the word multiverse. Personally, I'm just getting started. I've been wanting to dive into this shit for a while. But especially with every other property trying to start their own multiverse, I don't blame people for getting tired of it. Especially when a lot of the other properties are poorly delivering them. And if I'm being honest, when it comes to the MCU, they're honestly just barely getting started when it comes to the multiverse. We just barely got through dealing with a shared universe for this franchise after Endgame. Now, It's the multiverse saga. They're not doing the best job at delivering it. And with everybody else and their mother trying to catch up with it, everybody else is getting burnt out with that idea. When, technically speaking, the MCU is just barely getting started with it. Everybody's already tired of the multiverse, but guys, the multiverse saga is just barely starting. Anything we got so far related to the multiverse, those were just supposed to be the bits and pieces we got before we dive right into it. I don't blame you guys for being tired. I don't blame you guys for being tapped out with the MCU, because I'll be honest, I'm at this point tapped out. But let's face the facts. Technically speaking, the MCU is just barely starting the multiverse saga. It barely dived into it. And it's not like there isn't still a ton to explore within the vastness of the multiverse. It's just these corporations are not doing the best idea with exploring the best possibilities, the most interesting storylines to go with. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be experimenting with these crossovers that I mentioned. Freaking Avengers versus Godzilla, The Predator, Aliens. Even DC is doing that. And to this day, I'm still hearing Marvel and DC fans say they want another. Why can't I fucking talk today, man? Fuck! I'm still hearing Marvel and DC fans say they still want another Marvel and DC crossover. And for those of you that, like me, you never really dove into the comics and you're saying, what the fuck are they, what? There was a Marvel and DC crossover? When? Why wasn't I informed of this? This happened in the comic books, I think back in the 90s or early 2000s? I can't honestly remember, but it did happen at one point. They wanted it to happen again, and a lot of people are begging it for it to happen on the big screen. I, for one, would love that to happen. Films, shows, animations, I don't care how the fuck they deliver it, I want to see it happen. Disney, WB, come together, team up for another Who Framed Roger Rabbit level of big project with this ultimate crossover, Marvel and DC. I would love to fucking see that happen, man. That is going to happen anytime soon, though. Two multiverses colliding. There's still a lot of interesting ideas within the vastness of the multiverse to explore. We're just not taking a look at them. We're taking a look at everything else, sightseeing within the multiverse. How many times have I said that at this point? If you actually are playing that drinking game, you're probably going to freaking end up in the hospital by this point. Stop already. You didn't have to take me serious. You can relax. Put the bottle down. Put the bottle down. Anyways, that was a lot to go over. With that out of the way, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. If not, leave a dislike and a comment telling me why. Because any and all interaction is good interaction for my channel and the algorithm. And any and all criticism can help me get better. And of course, if you did enjoy, subscribe to add a little dose of chaos in your life. If not, please do leave your dislikes, because your dislikes do matter. And I appreciate your time, even if you didn't enjoy it. And please let me know what your personal thoughts are on the What If series. Especially if you're one who used to dive into the What If comics a lot. Tell me what you think the best or worst episodes were. How do you feel about Season 1 versus 2 and 3? Do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree? Do you think it has more reviewability than I do? Now, that's not to say that nothing within this series is rewatchable, just that I have no personal interest to go rewatch it. With that said, I will see you guys next time when I talk about the What If Zombies episode. That video is going to be a long one as well, because I'm going to have a lot to say about that episode. But I'm going to say this right here, right now. I gave it another chance when I went back to try to rewatch the series. And, let's just say I don't have such hard feelings that much anymore on the What If Zombies episode. Previously, I thought it was ass. Now, I don't think that so much, but I really don't think it's one of the better episodes either. Well, for the most part, better than the ones that were boring or just fucking, insufferable. But, there's worse. There's worse. But yeah, whatever episode you want to talk about, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are down below. Until next time, HK out, and have a good one.